Coming up on Tech News today, the first iPhone hacker built a self-driving car in his garage. Facebook improves its real names policy, and a peek into how ad blockers make their money.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, December 16th, 2015. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your house. Right now, get free expedited FedEx shipping in time for the holidays when you go to ring.com/TNT. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Mike Elgin has decided to spend his days traveling the earth, but you've got me for now. And starting in January, I will be hosting this show with Jason Howell from All About Android. I am Megan Morrone, and our co-anchor today is ZDNet contributing writer Kevin Tofel. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Megan, how are you today?
I am doing good. Before the show started, we were talking about Star Wars spoilers, and you and I are on the same page. Anything about the movie at all, any details, how you felt about it, what you ate for breakfast, what you ate afterwards, all of that is considered a spoiler, and we will not mention any of it, correct?
That is correct. Keep it to yourself. I don't want to know.
Okay, good. So our top story today is such an interesting story that broke this morning. It's not necessarily, it's an ongoing story, not news, but at 17, he was the first person to hack the iPhone, and now George Hotz has created a self-driving car in his garage, according to Ashley Vance, writing in Bloomberg Business. Now, it's a 2016 Acura ILX with a dash cam and LiDAR on the roof. It seems super dangerous. I'm shocked that Ashley Vance got in the car with him. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten in that car either. I mean, nothing against George. He's a super, super smart guy. But when you look in the dashboard of this thing, in the glove box rather, there's an Amazon Basics 4-port USB hub. I mean, that scares me right there. That's just not what I want, managing the computing bits of my driving car.
And Ashley Vance, of course, was the reporter who this year wrote Elon Musk's biography. It was one of the most interesting books that I read this year. And so he's a great person to profile, George Hotz, because he is very Elon Musk-like, and also has been going back and forth with Elon Musk about working for him, and I guess turned down a job. He says he's going to take on Tesla, do it himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have taken the job offer if I were him, because, the resources that Elon Musk has are just, pretty much out of this world. And, nothing against, again, George, but working out of your basement with an Acura and a dash cam and LiDAR and hacking it all, cobbling it all together. I mean, I just think you're going to be able to do more on a larger scale if you're working for Musk. But kudos to George. I mean, he's done an amazing project here, and he's not given up. I mean, he's basically not going to go work for Musk. He's going to keep getting this thing out the door.
Right, and he profiles the level, all the levels of to get to full autonomous vehicles. I think he's talking about level 3, which is mostly the driver assistance technology and he wants to challenge Mobileye, which is the Israeli company that they supply Tesla and BMW and Ford and General Motors with all of their driver assist technology. And he says he can do it better. He says they're behind.
Interesting, too. I just read an article yesterday about how the cost of all these components are coming way down in price now, and that Elon Musk specifically doesn't really believe in LiDAR. He thinks that cameras and sensors are good enough. So George is taking a slightly different approach anyway than Elon with all this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, today was the day for self-driving car news. The other big news was that Bloomberg said that Google will launch a standalone self-driving car unit within Alphabet. Of course, we know that Google has lots of self-driving, cars out there that they've been testing for a long time. But this is the first we've heard that there will be a whole unit within Alphabet devoted to autonomous vehicles.
That's a smart move, I think. I mean, they're obviously, since they made the whole alphabet change, they're really trying to segregate their different lines of business. And this doesn't fit in, say, with Google search and so on. I mean, yes, it uses data, but no, I think it's a smart move.
I think so too. And also Ford also announced that they will be, this was more of an announcement. The Google story was more of a rumor, according to sources familiar with the matter. But Ford announced that they will be putting their self-driving cars on the road, testing them in 2016. So big day for self-driving cars. So starting this week, Facebook is changing the way it enforces its real names policy. There's a new system for reporting fake names and new protocols for responding to reports. Joining us to talk about the changes is Russell Brandom from The Verge. Welcome, Russell.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So for those who haven't been following the Facebook real names policy debate, can you give us a quick overview of Facebook's policy and why it's been so controversial?
Yeah, so Facebook, unlike Twitter, and I think that's a useful compromise or a contrast here. Facebook says, you have to use your real name, which their definition is the name you use in real life, right? It's not your legal name necessarily, but they want it to sort of correspond to your offline identity, right? This is in comparison with Twitter, where, they're perfectly happy for you to start up a parody account that says, you're a parody of Jeff Jarvis or whoever, or, this is my drunk Vladimir Putin account. And it's, you're not expected to be the real Vladimir Putin on Twitter, but if you start a Facebook page that says you're Vladimir Putin, you better actually be Vladimir Putin. And this has gotten them into trouble in a lot of ways. A lot of times someone, either someone just sort of has a non-Western name and someone flags it as saying this isn't their real name, and often they'll be kicked off of Facebook for a while and their account will be deactivated and they'll have to sort of do all this stuff to get back. In other examples, one prominent example had to do with drag queens, a group of drag queens in San Francisco, that they said, well, your name isn't really this. And they said, listen, this is the name that I've actually been using in the world. It's not the name that's on my driver's license, maybe, but this is what I've chosen to be my name. Why can't I choose it to be my name on Facebook? So, the policy itself has come under a lot of fire, and then there's been a lot of criticism of how the company sort of enforced the policy. This is really just the second one. Facebook is kind of doubling down on the idea that, you really shouldn't be using Facebook in a way that doesn't correspond to how you live your life outside of the internet. They want the name to sort of represent who you are outside of the web. Having said that, they are trying to be a lot more responsive to some of the weird situations that have come up. So one of the things is, if you are an ethnic minority, there's now a specific sort of button for you to push if you say, this is my real name. I've been reported erroneously. I'm an ethnic minority, and that'll sort of, direct you to a specialized support group, which is another thing that they're building out as part of this, that will hopefully be able to resolve the situation a little bit easier. You also now have a full week after the report comes in before your account gets deactivated. Hopefully, that'll hopefully give people time to go back and forth with Facebook while still being on the platform and not sort of losing this whole sort of way of accessing the internet. And the other thing is there's LGBTQ, that's, gay and trans sort of issues, which is another button you can push because that's come up a lot, especially if people are transitioning. And that often involves a name change that often isn't sort of legally all the way through yet. But this is how people are interacting with their friends. If they've told their friends they want to go by a certain name offline, that should be something that they can do sort of online with Facebook as well. And so that's also has its own sort of specialized support group.
Russell, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that every now and again there probably is an actual drunk Vladimir Putin, but that's besides the point. So, Facebook, it doesn't sound like they really changed the core mantra of their policies here. So they just made it so that you can take advantage of these different flags and so on. Are they using any types of algorithms, or is this all self-reporting complaints about people? Are they manually checking things when people complain, saying so-and-so isn't using their real name? Is that still the status quo for them? How are they doing that?
The general policy that I saw, and I think this is how a lot of things like this work is, there's an initial filter of automation. And then once that sort of has cut down on the number of reports, it goes into human, you have a team of people who are looking through the reports and seeing what to do. One of the interesting things to note is, the reporting process has also become more complicated in terms of, is this person pretending to be someone who doesn't exist? Are they, pretending to be someone who they are not, which are fairly clear-cut cases where you can just investigate, does this person actually exist? Or is this a Queen Victoria, Facebook page where the person obviously isn't Queen Victoria? But actually, in some ways, it's made it harder to do the straight automation because there's a lot more text boxes and sort of things that require it's sort of a human to look at it. And that was in the interest of making the whole process more flexible and sort of feel less automated and feel less kind of like you're talking to a machine. It's very stressful to be potentially kicked off of Facebook or sort of get the email where they say, we're worried that you're not you. You have to, scan your driver's license to prove that you're you. That's an extremely stressful experience for a lot of these people. So they wanted it to feel more personalized and more like, we're here, we're available to talk about this. Tell us in your words what's happening, and we'll try to come to some resolution. The other thing that was interesting was they said in the future, they're looking at ways to use automation sort of in an even smarter way. And one example that I thought was interesting was, what's the name that people call you on your birthday, right? We've all seen these Facebook posts where, it tells you it's someone's birthday. And then, if it's your birthday, you'll get 10 or 12, or if you have a lot of friends, maybe even more than that, messages that just say, happy birthday, Russell, right? And, if they're saying all of a sudden, they're saying happy birthday, Boyce, because I've decided to go by my middle name. And then Facebook says, oh, wait, why are suddenly he has Boyce instead of Russell? They'll be able to pick up on the fact that, actually people on Facebook at least are calling me this name, even without, and not just because I've changed it. And so there will be able to pick up more signals from just within Facebook, what's the name this person is going by. And so not all of that has come on yet, but they're hoping to use automation sort of smarter and better in the future, kind of going forward.
Why don't they allow parody accounts? It seems like, that's just, I can understand the confusion and that, Mark Zuckerberg feels very strongly about everyone. What do you have to hide? Just be yourself.
Well, that's a dangerous question, yeah.
Right. And that, he's been criticized for that because that is his attitude. And yes, some people, that's fine. If you want to be a whistleblower, if you're part of, if you're marginalized in society, if you've ever had to hide from someone, things that he hasn't had to experience. But why not make room in some way for parody accounts? That they work on Twitter, they're hilarious. It seems like, people would go to those accounts and look at more Facebook ads. Do you know why they are just blocking this totally?
I think one of the lessons here is that they're really not backing away from the policy. And I do agree. I think in terms of, if you think about how you feel when you go to different online spaces, I definitely feel much better. And I think I have a better time on places that do sort of let people function with pseudonyms, right? Whether that's Twitter or Tumblr, I find those to be much more pleasant spaces to spend time in. I don't think there's any easy, quick answer for why Facebook chose to go this direction. I think a lot of it has to do with the idea that they want to be a canonical source of identity on the internet. And once you get that, there are a lot of other things you can build on top of it, whether that's, we've already seen messaging, which I think if you're the canonical, if it just becomes easier to Facebook message someone than email them, that's a big shift in the nature of the internet that makes Facebook a lot more powerful. I think things like payments, obviously more elaborate marketing, which, Facebook's already doing a lot of really fairly comprehensive advertising stuff, is really just the first step of stuff. But there's so much you can build on top of Facebook if it's a canonical identity source and that all of these identities are sort of rock solid. And I'm not just gonna, ditch my Facebook account and start up another one because something bad happened on the one that I had, right? It becomes much more powerful And so, I mean, I think that's definitely a big part of their vision for the future. And that's why it's so important that this not seem like a terrible and stressful thing, right? They want to make this policy work because I think it's really central to their plans for what they're going to do in the next 5-10 years as a company.
Well, Russell, thank you so much for writing on this. Russell Brandom is a reporter at The Verge and at Russell Brandom on Twitter. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
This episode is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. The Ring Video Doorbell lets you see and speak to anyone at your house just by using your smartphone. This time of year, you're probably getting packages sent to the house for the holidays. With the Ring, you can talk to delivery people and keep an eye on your package. If someone tries to mess with it, you'll get an instant alert and an HD video of the whole thing. It's like having a neighbor keep an eye on your house all the time, without judging you. Installing Ring takes minutes, and it works with either your current wiring or a built-in rechargeable battery. This year, give the gift of peace of mind and convenience with a video doorbell. Time magazine named one of their top 10 gadgets. Go to ring.com/TNT for free expedited FedEx shipping. That's ring.com/TNT. With the Ring, you are always home. So there was lots of news yesterday about how you can use Android Pay to pay within apps like Lyft or OpenTable. I am not an Android expert, Kevin, but from what I understand, you could already do this with Google Wallet. Did Google Wallet take this away and then bring it back? What changed yesterday?
Well, you're certainly not the only one confused here because Google Wallet has been around for 3 to 4 years. I remember I ordered a phone from the UK just to get one of the first ones that could do Google Wallet NFC transactions to tap and pay. And, I used it before it was even rolled out here. It was awesome. And of course, now we've got Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and so on. But Google Wallet really never took off. And at this point in 2015, this year at Google I/O, Google said, you know what, we're going to revamp things and we're going to have 2 separate products that are going to be similar. Google Wallet, what it used to be, is really now Android Pay. That's the retail experience where you tap and pay with your phone. You can't do it with Android Wear smartwatch yet, but I would expect that'll come soon. And Google Wallet is more for person-to-person transactions. So you can send money just like PayPal. Google now lets you send money through Google Wallet through a text message. So that's really the one-to-one, not one-to business-to-consumer type process. So that's really what changed here. And Android Pay is going to be the in-app portion of payments that developers will be using.
All right, I get it. So let's also move on to another story that you reported about Google Fi. Google Fi is the service. It's pretty new where you can pay as you go, and it switches between networks, so you get a better service. You've been using it for a while. Now you can add a tablet to your Project Fi account, and you only have to pay for the data that you use. Is that how this works?
That's correct. This is brand new. Google just announced it this week, and you're going to be able to order a separate Project Fi SIM that's going to go into a tablet. Right now, I think there are 5 tablets that this will work on, including 2 iPads, the iPad Air 2, the iPad Mini 4, Google's Nexus tablets, and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S. So if you want just data in Project Fi, you can get that now. It's $10 per gigabyte, same price as you would pay for regular Project Fi service on your phone. Probably not the best deal when it comes down to that, but the nice thing is that it will work overseas in over 120 countries. You don't have to worry about local SIM cards if you just need data on your tablet.
That's nice. And does it switch on the tablet back and forth between Sprint and T-Mobile?
It does not, unfortunately, and that's because it uses the GSM type standards for LTE. So it's not working with Sprint right now. It's only going to be on T-Mobile towers in the U.S. and then overseas, whoever they have agreements with.
So was I right? Have you been using Project Fi?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because you can technically only use or officially only use Project Fi on the Nexus products, but I've got it working on the newest Moto X. It doesn't switch over to Sprint for me, so it's basically a T-Mobile SIM in some sense, but it lets me use that service, the pay for what you use service, which is really the big thing with Fi for me. If I only use half a gig of data, I don't want to pay $10. Fi is fine with me,
So using it on a tablet or an iPad, is that available now?
The SIM cards for that are not available yet. I checked just this morning. In fact, I logged into my Project Fi account. That's where you'll be able to buy these SIM cards. They're not available as of maybe an hour ago. That's sure to change either today or sometime this week, I would think.
And in the chat room, I have a question from Show Me the Titles, who asks, do you have to pay per device?
That's a great question. There's no fee to add a tablet to your Project Fi account. You just pay for the data that you use. So essentially, the minimum amount of data you can buy is 1 gig for $10. So you would pay $10, get your SIM card, use the tablet, and then if you needed more data, you would pay for it. If you needed use less data, you'd get a credit, but there's no per device fee.
Well, thanks for elaborating on all of these topics. Let's move on to ad blockers. Ad blockers have always been highly debated. But not only because many of us talking about them all the time make our living through ad-supported content, but it's not always clear how the ad blockers are funding their operations. Sometimes they'll be paid by big companies, so their ads aren't blocked. And and they're saying the same thing that those of us who are supported by ads are saying. We have to have money somehow. This isn't a hobby. Today, AdBlock explained a little bit about their process. They're one of the big ad blockers. They say they get some donations from users, but most of the main source of revenue comes as part of the Acceptable Ads Initiative. Do you know much about the Acceptable Ads Initiative, Kevin?
I don't know much about it, but I suspect that this happened because of what Mozilla did last week, where they basically came out with their own ad blocker and said, hey, here's how we do this. We use a publicly available whitelist for the ads. We don't take money. You can't pay us as a company and be on the list or off the list. So it almost seems like a counter move to what Mozilla announced last week.
So just transparency. Here's what
Correct.
we do it. Here's our list.
Mm-hmm. That's how I take it.
All right, well, let's move on to our next story. Microsoft has announced Microsoft Philanthropies. It's a new organization dedicated to Microsoft's vision of bringing to life the promise and potential of technology for everyone. There was an announcement on their blog today by Brad Smith. They're going to be investing in digital inclusion programs, computer science education, basically doing more than what they're already doing, I think. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, and I love, it doesn't matter what company it is that does this. I love to see these initiatives to help bridge that digital divide, to get more younger people thinking about sciences and maths and technology and just making technology accessible. It's well and good that we have these, super smartphones and whatnot, but, A, not everybody does, B, not everybody knows how to use them, and more importantly, C, the younger generation today is going to be the ones who are programming these things tomorrow. So, we need to educate people on this.
Right. And of course, there's the Gates Foundation, which is separate from Microsoft. I freelanced for Microsoft for about 11 years, and they do so much. They give their employees time to do projects on the side. And, as a company as a whole, separate from the Gates Foundation, they do work really hard. So it's impressive, kind of more of what they've already been doing, I think. Are you hiring but not sure where to find the best candidates? As a business owner, your company is only as good as the people you hire. Posting jobs in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates, and short staffing leaves little time to post to dozens of job sites. Thanks to our second sponsor, ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100 plus job sites with one single click and be instantly matched to candidates from nearly 6 million resumes. Just post once, and within 24 hours, watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter has been used by over 400,000 businesses. You can try it now for free. Getting the right people for your company is so important. Scott, a happy ZipRecruiter client, said the recruiting process used to be so painful. Before, I'd post to several places, get 1 million resumes, but only a few responses from qualified candidates. It was torture. But with ZipRecruiter, we post once and get qualified candidates in one easy-to-review place. We've hired some of our best employees using ZipRecruiter. Today, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. So you also wrote another story about a new keyboard for the iPad Pro called the Bridge Pro. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Bridge has actually made iPad keyboards since the first iPad, and it's actually the very first Kickstarter that I funded was the Bridge keyboard. That was 4 or 5 years now ago. So now they've got, or coming soon, is their iPad Pro keyboard. You can see in the picture there, it's got 2 little hinges. You slide your iPad Pro in and out. It's aluminum. It's got backlit keys, which is a big deal for a lot of people. It will use Bluetooth. It's not going to use that smart connector that Apple has on the iPad Pro. I'm not surprised by that because this has adjustable viewing angles, and there's just no way to keep a tablet attached to those smart pins and the smart connector to maintain that connection. At this point, It's just pre-orders. This is a pre-announcement from them. The pre-orders start, I think, January the 4th, and they have not announced a price yet. I believe their current bridge keyboard for the iPad Air is like $169. So I'm thinking this is going to be north of that, probably around $189, $199. But either way, I plan to pre-order one. They make really nice keyboards. It's going to add some weight, 1.54 pounds, but it does make your iPad Pro kind of that clamshell MacBook look for your tablet.
So is the top of the clamshell the top of the iPad Pro? There's no top; it just fits right in.
Correct. There's no protection here for the iPad itself, and I know that will turn a lot of people off. I tend not to put my iPads in cases and covers and whatnot, so that doesn't bother me, but I can totally understand people being concerned about that.
And it charges separately, I'm assuming, since it doesn't fit into the smart connector, you'd have to charge it separately, unlike some of the
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to have some type of USB charger. Maybe they found a way to work with the Lightning connector to recharge it from the iPad itself. It's not going to take a lot of power. Bluetooth keyboards typically don't. So they said that charge it once. It should be good for about 3 months.
Yeah, that is something I've heard a lot of people. They don't like the keyboards that are out there now because you can't adjust the angle. But I guess we just can't have everything.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Someday. So our TNT fan of the day today is Trenton Moody, who posted this photo on Twitter. He says that he and his boyfriend Chris listened to TNT on their way to see the holiday lights at the Opryland Hotel in Nashville. That is an excellent photo. Thank you for sharing it with us. And show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. I know we covered a lot of your content. Is there anything else that we missed or that you're working on?
Well, it's pre-CES time, so I'm working on a lot of things that unfortunately I can't talk about, can't give spoilers or anything. But I think this week I'm just going to continue resting up because I've got tickets for 2 a.m. for Star Wars on Friday morning, so I'm just catching up on sleep for the rest of this week.
And will you go to CES or will you report from home on CES?
I'm going to, after 10 years in a row, I'm going to stay home, I think, and let the younger crowd run around Las Vegas.
On their hoverboards, or not on their hoverboards.
On their hoverboards.
On whatever they will come up with before, since I guess hoverboards have been banned.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Kevin is at ZDNet, and he's at Kevin C. Tofel on Twitter. Thanks so much for co-hosting with me today.
Thanks, Megan.
And you can subscribe to Tech News Today on iTunes or many other options. You can choose your favorite way at twit.tv/TNT. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1700 UTC at twit.tv/live. If you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, come in and watch us as part of our studio audience. Send emails to tickets@twit.tv. You can also follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. Mike Elgin has moved on, but you will see him, and the two of us recorded a whole week's worth of interviews that you will see between Christmas and New Year's. We interviewed some great people, so stick around if you're missing Mike. And that is the Tech News Today. This show was produced by Jason Cleanthes and edited by Anthony Nielsen. And today is Anthony's birthday. Happy birthday to you, Anthony. My name is Megan Morrone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.